oh, this is making me feel really stressed. I'm so anxious about it. Are these the same thing or not? That's what I will be talking about in this week's video. What is the difference between anxiety and stress? Is there any difference? And if there is, how can we deal best with one or the other? So first of all, let's talk about how they are similar, how anxiety and stress are similar. We usually use these terms interchangeably, and there's a reason for that. The reason is that they are both emotional responses and they have very similar symptoms. So, for example, both for stress and anxiety, you might feel that it's much easier for you to get irritated about things. You feel tired, maybe you feel some muscle tension. You have problems in your digestion. Maybe you have different eating habits because of that. And also very common is to have difficulty sleeping. So these are things that happen both when we feel stressed or when we feel anxious about something. So what is actually different between the two? So the difference is that stress usually is triggered by an external event. It can be short term, such as you had an argument with a colleague, or you have a deadline approaching, or it can be long-term stress, such as poverty or chronic illness. So it comes from an external source, and usually it can be either temporary or long-term, but it's very much connected with that external source. While for anxiety, that's not the case. Anxiety is triggered internally. So what happens is that maybe there is no stressor around, but internally there is that process going on as if the stressor was there. So it's much more of an internal process that creates and sustains anxiety, also because anxiety tends to be prolonged in time. So it is good to know this difference, because there can be things that can work for both things, but there can be things that work best for one thing or the other. So let's look into that now. So some of the coping mechanisms that work for both stress and anxiety are three simple things. One is physical activity. We all have heard about the benefits of physical activity, but in this case it's not just for your physical health but also your mental health. And with that in mind, we are not going for a type of exercise that can be quite strenuous, but more to a type of exercise that is adequate to you and to your personality. So for example, if you are a very competitive person and you're feeling stressed about work, for example, maybe going for a very competitive type of exercise will not help you, because it will just continue to put that strain into your body. So maybe something that it's calmer can be of better help for you in that case. And the other way around as well, if you're someone that usually is very calm and you're feeling anxious about or stressed about something that is demanding more energy from you, then going towards a very active kind of exercise and maybe with some competitivity in it could be of more help than going for something very calm, you see? So it's good to kind of evaluate what kind of exercise could be good for you in that kind of situation. But physical activity is definitely one of the three main things I want to talk about. The other one is having a very good, nutritious and varied diet. So here also it's good to know what works best for you and your body, but eating well, things that are fresh and of quality, can be of great help when dealing with mental health, and in this case particularly stress and anxiety. So sometimes due to the lack of time that we are going through that is provoking that stress or that anxiety, we go for the quickest option, something maybe in the microwave. That is totally not helping you. So perhaps, just take those 10 extra minutes to chop some vegetables and have something that is actually nutritious and is nurturing your body. That will also help you in your mental health. And the third thing, which is equally very, very important, is to have a good sleep hygiene. It's very, very important that we sleep the right amount of hours. The optimal amount would be around 7-8 hours. And you might feel that this is a waste of time, but it's actually incredibly important for your brain to rest and for you to be fresh to face your daily challenges and also feel less stressed and anxious about what is to come. So that is also a very important thing to have in mind, to have a good night's sleep. And if this is difficult for you because you are suffering from stress and anxiety, there are many different things that you can do to help you sleep. I will not go deeply into that, but I very much recommend that you look into it. There are great supplements. I will just give this tip. I use one that I really love, which is ashwagandha, and it helps me to sleep, it helps me to be focused, but there are many, and you can check what sounds best for you. Now, these three things that I talked about, they work well both for stress and anxiety, but if we are going to narrow it down to see what works best just for one or the other, here I would like to make that distinguish. Let's talk about stress first. So for stress particularly, one of the things that helps is to eliminate the stressor, right? So this might not be so easy, but there are some things that you can do in order to try to eliminate the stressor, and that can be to drop a bit of the responsibility. So maybe if it is a project that you're handling and you feel that you have a lot of responsibility on your shoulders, maybe you should look into how you can drop some of that responsibility. If you can't do that, another thing that you can do is to lower your standards, because maybe you're putting a lot of pressure on yourself when it is possible to kind of lower the standards and still have a very good result. And lastly, of course, is to ask for help. If you can ask for help, this can be very helpful, that you find someone that can actually give you a hand and at least share some of that responsibility that you're feeling that is stressing you out. When it comes to dealing with anxiety, again, there are a lot of similarities, so some of the things also touch. They can be also helpful for stress, but if we think about anxiety, it's very much connected with setting your expectations, setting realistic expectations for yourself, redefining your thinking, because as I said before, anxiety comes from an inner trigger, so it's a lot about how you are thinking around a situation. Also, cultivating a good social network can be very beneficial because you feel that you are much more supported. Another thing that can help is to continue doing the activities that are pleasurable for you. So if you can squeeze in those things that make you feel good, even if they're not productive. Sometimes we are so hung up on being productive, and we forget to do things that actually they are not productive in itself, and the only reason why we do them is because we enjoy them. So keeping those activities is also very important. Asking for help, again, of course. In this case, I would say asking for professional help if you feel that the level of anxiety that you're feeling is really impairing your functioning. And in this case, I would really recommend asking for professional help in this process of redefining your thinking and finding strategies to cope with anxiety in the best way. And probably the last one, that is probably one of my favorite ones, of course, that also works for stress as well as for anxiety, is to immerse yourself in nature. If you can take some time during your day to go on a walk in the forest, or if you go on a walk on the beach, or if you can actually take a swim on a lake or on the sea, or whatever can be, even maybe just taking a short walk in the park nearby where you live, just being around nature, it has been proved to have lots of benefits in terms of calming yourself down and kind of like helping you to clear your mind. So I could not recommend enough taking that time to connect with nature. So that is it for today's video. We talked about anxiety and stress, how they are similar, how they are different, and some of the things that you can do to deal with one or the other. If you like the video, you are very welcome to subscribe and give a thumbs up. And next week I will be talking about mindful awareness, what it is, how we can practice, why it is so difficult to practice sometimes. So if that is something that interests you, tune in for next week. Thank you for watching.